It started with 2 words. Shedeur Sanders posted, "Thank you, God," alongside a single photo, no press conference, no PR team, no choreographed rollout. Just a clean, quiet drop on social media that somehow sent shockwaves across the entire NFL world overnight. The photo showed him wearing number 2. That was it. That was the whole message. And yet, within hours, the conversation around the Cleveland Browns had completely shifted. Ticket sales started climbing. Jersey lines started moving. Fan energy, which had been simmering since the draft, suddenly boiled over into something the organization had not felt in years. This was not noise. This was signal. And if you understand what that number means, where it comes from, and what it represents for this young quarterback's identity, then you already know why everything about the Browns situation just changed. To understand why the switch from 12 back to 2 matters so much, you have to go back to one of the messiest draft environments in recent memory. When Shedeur Sanders arrived in Cleveland, he made a deliberate, calculated decision to wear number 12. That was never his number. It was never tied to his identity or his history. It was a move of humility, a conscious choice to dial himself back, to avoid being the wrong kind of headline in a situation that was already surrounded by noise and speculation. He came in quiet. He came in measured. He intentionally dimmed his own light at a moment when everything around him was loud. That takes a level of mental discipline that very few players at any stage of their career actually possess. The ability to suppress your own identity for the sake of the environment you're walking into is not common. But that chapter is now fully and completely closed. Number 2 is where Shedeur Sanders built everything. Jackson State, Colorado. Every program he walked into, took over, and transformed, he did it wearing number 2. That number carries history, identity, and a direct connection with his fan base that number 12 simply never had the roots to match. The fan reaction that followed his post was not manufactured, and it did not feel like something a marketing department could have scripted. Within hours, analysts were reacting, longtime fans were reacting, casual NFL observers who had barely paid attention to Cleveland all season were suddenly weighing in. The anticipation that had been building across an entire year, since the draft, since the jersey reveal, since every quiet training camp update, finally had somewhere to land. There is a story within this story that captures the moment perfectly. A Browns fan had purchased a number 2 Shedeur Sanders jersey before the draft even happened, betting early on what they believed was coming. When Shedeur chose number 12 after being selected, that fan got mocked. People called the jersey wrong. They called the purchase premature, misguided, a waste of money. As one fan put it, it was simply right church, wrong pew. That jersey, the one people laughed at, the one that was supposed to be the symbol of an overeager fan getting ahead of themselves, is now the most relevant piece of Browns merchandise in the building. That is how fast reality can catch up to what believers already knew. The merchandise numbers are not based on hype or social media impressions, they are based on actual sales data. Shedeur Sanders finished 6th in overall NFL jersey sales during his rookie season. Not 6th among rookies. Not 6th among Browns players. 6th overall, across every player, every team, every market in the entire league. The company he is sitting in, Saquon Barkley, Josh Allen, Drake May, Caleb Williams, Jalen Hurts, and right in that same conversation, a 5th-round pick who barely started a full season of professional football. That ranking does not happen by accident. That is cultural influence operating completely independently of field time and statistics. What makes that number even more significant is the environment it came from. This is Cleveland. This is not a franchise with trendy uniforms driving jersey sales through aesthetics. This is not a big market team with brand power doing the heavy lifting in the background. If the jerseys are moving in Cleveland at that volume, it is because he is moving them. Now that number 2 is back, his real number, the one his actual fan base built a connection with long before he ever took an NFL snap, those numbers are positioned to look entirely different going forward. Ticket sales in Cleveland are already climbing. The building is buzzing in a way that has not been felt there in a long time. Authenticity and opportunity hitting at the same time is a combination this league has not seen in Cleveland in a very long time. There is a quote that has been circulating around this moment, and it does not just sound good, it is a precise description of what Shedeur Sanders actually went through during his first year as a professional. You went through the fire. You got purified. And now you're in war mode. His rookie season in Cleveland was not smooth. It was not a soft landing. He absorbed everything the situation threw at him, the doubts coming from the media, the constant quarterback competition headlines, the noise from every direction trying to define him before he had the chance to define himself. He did not crack under any of it. He did not let the external pressure reshape his internal compass. He processed it, adapted to it, and came out on the other side of that first season sharper and more self-aware than he went in. The switch from 12 to 2 is not just a visual change, it is a psychological shift made visible in real time. It is the equivalent of a player finally switching back to the playbook they know by feel, by instinct, by memory. He is no longer adjusting to the environment. He is preparing for the environment to adjust to him. And the timing here is not accidental. This happened right before OTAs. Right before the quarterback competition officially heats up and every rep starts counting. This is not impulsive emotion. This is calculated confidence delivered at exactly the right moment. The quarterback competition in Cleveland heading into this offseason is real, and it involves more than just Shedeur Sanders. Deshaun Watson is in the mix, bringing NFL experience, a massive contract, and the weight of expectations that have followed him throughout his time with the organization. Dillon Gabriel has not been visibly active around the facility since the new coaching staff stepped in, and that silence has been raising serious questions about his standing in the competition. Offensive coordinator Todd Monken has already made his position clear on how the competition will be evaluated. Reps will not be distributed equally just to maintain the appearance of fairness. The deciding factor will be tied directly to where things stood at the end of last season, momentum, progression, and how each quarterback closed out the year. If that framework is applied honestly, the indicators start pointing clearly in one direction. And now Shedeur Sanders is not walking into that first OTA practice as a quiet rookie still searching for his footing in a new system. He is walking in wearing number 2, his number, his identity, the visual representation of a mindset that has shifted entirely. Perception carries weight in a competition environment like this. When you look like the starter, carry yourself like the starter, and your teammates begin responding to you like the starter, something starts shifting before any official announcement is even made. Being honest about what comes next is important, because the NFL does not care about jersey sales, social media momentum, or the energy surrounding a number change. Once the ball is snapped, none of that exists anymore. Only execution matters. The safety net that came with being a rookie, the built-in grace period, the still adjusting framing that gave him room to breathe, that cushion is gone. It evaporated the moment he publicly put number 2 back on. Every throw, every read, every snap in practice will now be analyzed through the lens of a player who has already declared himself ready. The level of scrutiny on Shedeur Sanders heading into OTAs is completely different from what it was a year ago. The pressure attached to this moment is precisely what separates players who are talented from players who are actually built to operate at this level of professional football. Talent gets you noticed. Confidence gets you attention. But consistency, the kind that shows up in cold, quiet, unsexy practice reps when nobody is watching, is what earns respect in the locker room and trust from the coaching staff. If Shedeur walks into OTAs and matches this moment with sharp, decisive, and controlled performance, this becomes the beginning of something real in Cleveland. If there is hesitation, if there is inconsistency between the statement and the execution, the same voices that went quiet will get loud again fast. That is how quickly narratives flip in this league, and he knows that better than anyone. Pull all of this together and what becomes clear is that the "thank you, God" post was never about merchandise. It was never a marketing campaign. It was not designed to generate social media engagement or drive jersey pre-orders. It was the loudest, clearest statement Shedeur Sanders has made since arriving in Cleveland, and it was delivered without a single extra word. The phrase, "the deuce is loose," that has taken over fan conversations is not just a catchy slogan built for the comment section. It represents something genuine. Validation for every fan, every analyst, every person who stood on this story early and did not switch up when the narratives went sideways. Those people were not reaching. They were not forcing a storyline that wasn't there. They were simply early, and the conversation is now finally catching up to where they already were. Every signal coming out of Cleveland right now, the jersey switch, the timing relative to OTAs, the competition setup, the sales data, the ticket movement, the fan energy, is pointing in the same direction. That level of alignment, happening at this precise moment in the most important offseason of his career, is not something you can manufacture or ignore. The post was the signal. The jersey was the message. The real test is what happens when Shedeur Sanders steps onto that field for the first OTA practice wearing number 2. That is the moment where conversation becomes reality. That is where mindset has to meet performance, where everything said without words has to be proven through the work. The version of Shedeur Sanders who wore 12 was controlled, measured, and surviving inside a situation that was not built for him to thrive. The version wearing 2 is not here to survive. Based on every signal available right now, he is here to take over. And if you have been watching this closely, if you were tracking this story before it became a mainstream conversation, then you already know this does not feel like a breakout moment. It feels like confirmation of something that was always coming. If this breakdown gave you a clearer picture of what is really happening in Cleveland right now, hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We cover Shedeur Sanders and the Browns every single day, and this story is only getting bigger from here. Drop a comment below and let us know, were you rocking with Shedeur before any of this became a mainstream conversation? The deuce is loose, and we are just getting started.